We've got 12 cars left running in the Indianapolis 500. Here was the latest to go out. You are looking at a replay from the front straight, and watch the car in the middle of the track. You're going to see a piece fly off of that car, and there it goes off flying into the distance.
That's a wing plate, the edge of the wing, Jim, and that's about a common thing that's been happening to these cars. Maybe this one didn't. Most of them take the carbon fiber wing plates off and put aluminum on in place.
Meanwhile, the day ends for Danny Sullivan.
Yes, and you know what this leaves? It's so extraordinary because Sullivan, after his great day, leaves not only Bobby Unser's brother Al of Roger's entire team. 3 has become 1, and that's a very good one indeed. But meantime, down to Al Troutman. Al?
Sam, you and I frequently speak of new innovations in racing. You're looking at one of them. This is the means of communication being used by the Tony Bettenhausen crew. If it looks like a telephone to you, you are correct. If we knew his number, we could actually dial him in his car. This is Ted Quackenbush, a representative of the Tony Bettenhausen crew. Ted, how's the telephone working?
Worked great for about the first 100 laps, and then the microphone in the helmet gave away, and now we're going back to the hand signals.
What does the telephone like this, a telephone call like this, cost?
Well, since today's Sunday, it's off peak, so it's 17 cents a minute.
Which comes out to roughly $30.60, Jim Lampley.
Only you, Al Troutwig, only you. And since I've left you hanging on the edge of your seat, let me take you off of it. The car which lost the wing plate was that of Fabrizio Barbazza, the 23-year-old rookie who lives in the legendary racing town of Monza, Italy, and who's been running beautifully here today in the top 10 much of the day.
That's Fabrizio is driving a car for none other than Frank Arciero. That's a guy I used to run for, and Dan Gurney used to run for. He's been racing a long time.
All you Italians stay together.
There you go.
And it's the crew chief there is the brother of the man that was my chief mechanic here, Dennis McCormick. And he told me that Barbazza comes on strong in the latter stages of the race, so we may see a lot more from him yet.
Meanwhile, let's take advantage of this yellow flag to remind you that on Saturday, June 6th, which is 2 weeks from now, or actually 13 days, ABC Sports continues its live triple-round coverage with the Belmont Stakes. Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner Ali Sheba will look to capture the 3rd jewel and complete a $5 million Triple Crown purse. The 119th running of the Belmont, live 4:30 Eastern, Saturday, June 6th, ABC Sports. Green flag in Indianapolis. The yellow flag has bunched up the battle for 2nd and 3rd between Guerrero and Al Unser Sr., and now it is Roberto who has moved back into 2nd place.
Roberto passed Al right on the green flag. It looks like maybe Roberto caught Al sleeping a little bit, very much the way Ray Hall caught the boys last year and won the race that way. So I'm sure Al's going to really wake up over this one.
Well, Ray Hall still contends to this day that he had the big advantage from the 2nd place position, that there was almost no way he wasn't going to pass Kevin Cogan in those circumstances because of the wind condition.
Well, possibly, yes, but I always felt that that was very gracious of Ray Hall to pay, you know, Kevin Cogan the compliment. Now we look here at the pass that Bobby was just talking about. Mario, of course, is leading the race. You see Al out toward the wall on the left side, and you see Roberto on the right side, who timed it just perfectly in a pass that really is the duplicate of the pass that we were talking about that won the race for Ray Hall last year.
And let me make one point that I perhaps didn't make clearly enough at that time a year ago. You can go when you see the green flag. You don't have to wait until your car is parallel to the scoring tower, the flag tower, I should say. And now let's go to Jack Caruth.
Jim, now is the time when all the crew chiefs have to determine when do they pit for the final time. Well, checking with Mario Andretti's crew chief, Tyler Alexander, here's the mark. 1 lap from now, the window opens. Anytime from then on, they will pit for the final time. Of course, they hope that it will be under caution. And you know what? They've already selected the set of tires that they're going to put on the car for that last pit stop. It's a set of tires they found to their liking early in the race. Let's go back up to the tower.
That's something that a lot of teams will try to do. You wonder if Guerrero has a set in reserve as well.
Possibly, but you know, this year with the new Goodyear radial, the radial is far more puncture resistant than the old bias ply tires used to be, and also it keeps its dimension much more. So the changing of tires is less critical. In other words, they are less likely to have had a blowout and less likely that you'd be using a change of tires to change the handling of the car.
168 laps down, 32 laps to go. Andretti still turning laps at 200 miles per hour and leading by a lap in the Indy 500. We are back live, and you look at the leader, Mario Andretti, with now Only a short distance to go, 28 laps in the Indianapolis 500. Andretti is being chased by Roberto Guerrero. We keep mentioning that Roberto Guerrero and Al Unser Sr. are just one lap down in case you're not totally oriented to auto racing. What does that mean? Well, it means Guerrero would have to pass Andretti twice to take the lead. And the same is true of Al Unser Sr. And the gap between them, Bobby Unser, is significant in terms of time.
Well, it really is. And you got to remember this now. Mario's in a different predicament right now than he's been all day. It means that he's got to drive totally a defensive race now. Don't make any mistakes. He's up a full lap, so he's got to play careful.
Meanwhile, the man who beat Andretti in 1985, Danny Sullivan, stands by with Jack Carew.
And Danny, when you spun, I began to wonder if history was going to repeat itself, but it didn't turn out that way. What put you out?
Well, when I did that, we just got a little too loose over the lines down in 3, and I thought maybe when I didn't hit anything, I thought maybe this is an omen, you know, and car ran real good, and we had no problems with it, and then the oil light came on, and I didn't know what to do, so we got lapped at that stage, and Derek said, go ahead and run it if it feels all right, and it did, and then just out of time through 1, it went flat, and through 2, it blew up.
Can anybody handle Mario Andretti?
Well, I tell you what, I think if we had stayed on the same, if we hadn't lost that lap to him when the oil light came on, we might have, you know, depending on yellows, we might have been there for a run. We were running some strong laps, and Mario looks awful strong at this stage.
Well, your teammate Al Sr. has just been in and out of pit road. He's had his service, so he's finished his final pit stop for the night. What about him? Do you think he's going to be able to do it?
Well, I'm pulling for Big Al, obviously, but it'd be nice for Chevrolet if Mario won, and I know he's been waiting for a long time, but I got to be pulling for Big Al. He's my teammate. Well,
that's the story from one teammate to the other. Let's check in the other side of pit road with my colleague, Jerry Gappens. Jerry?
25 laps to go, Jack Carew. Vince Granatelli, Roberto Guerrero's owner. When are you going to bring Roberto in for his final stop?
Sometime in the next 5 or 6 laps, depending upon whether there's a yellow or not.
Anything you can do to the car to make it fast enough to catch Andretti the last 25 laps?
Well, have to do some kind of trick to pick up a full lap in 25, but we'll see what happens before the race is over.
Okay, Vince Granatelli, the car owner for Roberto Guerrero, hoping something like a miracle could happen for his driver, Roberto Guerrero. Back upstairs to you, Jim, I think.
That's what it's going to take, is a miracle. You could see that Vince was not nearly as ebullient in that particular conversation with Jerry Gappens as he had been a little bit earlier in the race. Roberto Guerrero's last 3 years, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. He's always finished the race in his career here. But there was a driver named Ted Horn back in the 30s and 40s who for 9 straight years was 4th or better and never won the race. Roberto Guerrero has got a little bit of a mini Ted Horn streak going here.
You know, it's funny, Vince Granatelli is a very practical guy compared to his dad, Andy Granatelli. He was so emotional in these racing situations. Now, you see, I think that was a glance at Mario possibly starting for the pits. Mario on the right of your screen, he's not starting for the pits.
Oh, my goodness, it's happened again.
It has happened.
It has happened again, and you can hear the crowd responding. Lady Luck has reared what is to Mario her ugly head at Indianapolis again.
That shows. Don't count your chickens till they hatch. The bad luck has followed Mario again. This is kind of sad in many ways. Mario is going to feel worse today than he has in probably most of his losses, Jim.
Millions of racing fans prayed only that Mario would get a fair shot, a full run at it. It looked so good for so long, and there now is the leader, and Katie knows it as Roberto Guerrero tries to turn his bridesmaid status into that of a champion.
There's Roberto Guerrero. Now, he, of course, saw Mario slowing. So what is in this man's mind? 28 years old. Now the Indianapolis 500 handed to him. We have heard now word that through Mario's radio back to his pits that he has lost blower pressure, his turbocharger not working. He may be able to limp around to a finish. Of course, any chance of winning is now completely gone.
This happened with less than 60 miles to go. He had led for all but 5 laps in the race.
That's astounding. But this is Indianapolis. This is racing luck. This is what we talked about all day. But remember another thing. It isn't over yet. The end of this race doesn't happen until it's really over.
And there goes Roberto Guerrero by Andretti's car. You see Andretti in the pits. You saw Guerrero come down the front straight. The leaderboard changes. Car number 4 goes to the top of the leaderboard. Roberto Guerrero is the man in control.